Greetings all, BWS2K here again with another session, or really kind of a scene. I put on our notes, maybe scenes. The videos that we're doing here, I give them individual titles, but they're really more like scenes in a whole session, right? We kind of understand the flow, but I like coming up with cool names. Like this one, Teaming with Energy, Teaming. It's lovely, and you'll see why it's lovely as we proceed. But we're picking up right from where we left off. We emptied the Doom Pool, spent 2d12. Zizax has just been punched by Colossus and sort of like exploded and dissipated out and was absorbed or interacted in some electrical way, which is beyond my ability to explain properly. And so the helicarrier is now plummeted. And of course, it had been hit by an electrified griffin as well. And so now it is plummeting. And you know, I struggle sometimes. It's an interesting aside with Marvel games, specifically with this game, where you're used to role-playing games being like using miniatures or just theater of the mind, or, you know, there's different ways of representing beyond just words. But with a medium like comics, when you're trying to capture that, comics are so visual and you need visuals, or you need to be really descriptive in your language. But sometimes even descriptive language fails me. So I actually made a picture for what's going to happen next. So there's the scramble there. The helicarrier, or the mini helicarrier rather, is sort of plummeting into the East River. And this is this is what I came up with. And I have some dialogue here. It's not even necessarily that official, but I'll read it out. But so you've got the whole thing kind of. Every time I look at this, I look at this for over a week. Every time I look at it, I chuckle. You've got this mini carrier. It's plummeting down. It's going to hit the East River here in seconds. And Carol kind of takes charge, and she calls out to Natasha and says, "Widow, sting Summers," right? The electric blast, maximum setting, which confuses Scott. And he's like, "What?" Natasha doesn't even like second question the order. It's just boom. She goes for it, hits Scott full blast. And then Carol tells Scott to shoot her. "Now, Summers, give me all you got." And he doesn't question. He's probably a little bit confused, but whatever. He responds to women in authority, apparently. And so he blasts Carol with his concussive force. So now his concussive force is being fed by electric blasts from Natasha, because this is comics and yes, this works. And they both, so now you have this like, so you have like the blue from Black Widow, right? And now you have blue and red, but it's like the synthesis beam hitting Carol. And then Carol calls out to Ben Grimm and says, "Benji, you fly spaceships, right?" Because my man was a test pilot in the Fantastic Four, and he was the pilot that flew them all up there. So he's like, "You got it," and he just kind of like lumbers over to the controls, which he's not been at, but he's an amazing pilot, so he probably figures it out. And then she tells Colossus, "Grab the engines, comrade Metal Man." The engines, you know, open conduit, something in the back, right? And he just hugs that thing for dear life, and she uses her Kree energy combined with the concussive energy combined with the electric blast and just hits Colossus full force. And we know from his little tangle with Zizax that the energy that his form, his organic steel, is not necessarily always going to behave like actual steel, because it's not, it's organic. And so this basically uses him as like a jump start, or like a battery for the engines to like throw it into hyperdrive, or not hyperdrive, but like overdrive, right? And Ben is struggling with the controls and his big old fingers trying to hit all these little tiny buttons, and he is able to kind of like pull up on the stick, and they're all kind of like of one mind. This would be like full page spread, right? And he is able to pull the helicarrier into enough of an incline, or I should say he's able to pull up enough that they don't crash into the East River. But a quick scan of the horizon, and there is some like warehouse buildings, deserted buildings, that sort of thing that every doc in every comic and cartoon ever always has, specifically for these kinds of occasions, right? Just like a facility, like an abandoned, condemned maybe facility, right? And Ben says something like, "Hold on, it's crashing time," and they just boom, just smash right into these series of buildings. You know, through concrete goes flying everywhere, little arcs of various kinds of energy kind of bleed off of the ship and go flying as well. And they just kind of make this trench in the ground as they're pulling slowly to a stop. And they do eventually stop, and they have crash landed in this sort of abandoned or derelict building. And as they are able to get their bearings and kind of recover from the moment, because of course, well, not all of them, I don't think, would do a great job of surviving a crash landing. Not all of them are Ben Grimm, and only one of them can fly. But they're kind of getting their wits about them, and I think Carol has she's probably like glowing with just like different energy. And that's the thing about Carol Danvers, right? She has these different costumes, she has different names. Even in the original run, she had like a harness that she wore, like a mechanical kind of harness that she wore under her costume, and it was that, if I remember correctly, correct me in the comments, that's what allowed her to, I don't think it gave her all her powers, but it allowed her to fly. Maybe it gave her all her powers. I don't remember. But then, like, you know, a couple issues in, they had to have something happen where she was no longer reliant on that construct, and so now it's really her that has the power. She's constantly going through revisions and getting updates and joining different teams and going solo, and she's just one of those characters who's like that. Not unlike Marrow, though I think people like her more than they like Marrow, so she gets a little bit better treatment. So she's got like this new sort of energy form kind of tracing across her uniform and her skin and kind of arcing out from her, and she kind of congratulates the team, and everyone has that moment where they pick themselves up. But doing so, they look around, and I think it's her energy that's illuminating the I'm thinking like an aircraft hangar size, you know, interior that they're in, and it could be a series of buildings or whatever, but it's a big empty warehouse, empty except sort of across the room or across the chamber, we are able to see in the light two figures, and between them is sort of this mechanical construct, machine, electrical thing, right? Comic science, and it's basically like a mini reactor. And it's like plugged into all the different abandoned pieces of things that are equipment and machinery that this facility has. And above that is signage that basically signage that alludes to reactors being there, like decommissioned reactors. And the idea being here that this was a decommissioned reactor, but these two figures are basically trying to restart it. And the two figures, we'll move pages here on Roll20. The two figures are none other than Moonstone, Carla Sofin, who, well, I didn't read the cards last time. I won't read them this time, but she's kind of a cool character, and actually cool connection to Carol, because during the 50 States Initiative, when Osborne was putting together his team, she impersonated Carol. That's not what has happened, at least not yet anyway, in our sort of timeline that we're working with. It happens a little bit afterwards, after Breakout and such, but thought that was kind of cool. And again, I chose my 5 heroes because I didn't really get to use them much, and I wanted to, and I chose Moonstone because I've never used her before. She also was like a psychiatrist, and so she has puppets on a string, spend a doom die to step up a Psych Master stunt. So Psych Master is already D10, so she can spend any of the doom dice, which, yes, I know it's seamless stitches from scenes. We talked about that before, and this isn't necessarily a new session. It's a scene that picks up after the last one, but you can't just go battle these guys with no doom pool. So I gave 3d6 doom pool. And so she's able to basically do like big baller moves when it comes to Psych Master stuff, which I think we'll see, may pair well with Black Widow, who has the earn 1 plot point to step up emotional stress inflicted by intelligence agencies and their directors, which is not technically what she is, but I think it counts. And then she also has the immunity for a psychic attack. So we'll see if that comes up to play. I don't know. We just kind of go by the seat of our pants here. And then our other one is, if you haven't read it yet, Radioactive Man, Chen Lu, who is exactly what it sounds like. So I figure he's probably got his hands on the reactor and is like actually absorbing or feeding or whatever. And Carla's probably standing nearby, operating something or other, console terminal. And of course, both of them have turned and seen the heroes exiting the crashed helicarrier or mini carrier. And I think the fight is on. We have 2 scene distinctions. We have derelict reactor, but it's a question mark. And then we have rainy Monday afternoon. I think by now we can have our rainy scene. So the outside, it's now cloudy and overcast, and there's rain sort of pouring through holes in the ceiling. And of course, even more so now that we have the hole left in by the mini carrier. So just as they start to observe each other, pit, 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 patter, pitter, pitter, patter, the rain starts dropping. Okay, so that's our scene. That's our villains. Of course, we have our heroes. Oh, I put this block over top of the milestones because they were annoying me as being extra words on the screen, but I didn't want to cut up the images. So I just made another layer and put a blue spot on them. So when they see each other, when they all see each other, I think last time we had Carol do like a leadership thing. And I don't know if that's what I want to do here. And Scott didn't have a lot to do last time either. And so I think I want to have Scott do something first. What do we want him to do? I mean, he's a one trick pony as far as the optic beam is concerned. But maybe he's going to try his hand at team? I don't know. Does that make sense? He doesn't really like falling out of planes. And he is a pilot. So maybe he's going to grab... Maybe he just starts... Maybe he just starts firing. Is that something he would do? I don't think so. Maybe I don't want to start with Scott. Maybe we'll do the Miss Marvel and we'll do the leadership stunt thing again, because that was really kind of cool. Yeah, let's do that. We'll have her. So she's going to roll. She's going to roll to create an asset, and then pay a plot point to make it available to everybody. And this is going to be kind of like last time she said Mythicals move, right? It was like this inspirational catchphrase. And I think this time she's going to say it, but it's going to be like, if it was in a comic, the font would be like kind of like jagged, because she's in this weird energy form, because she like absorbs energy too, right? Yeah, energy absorption is actually one of her SFXs. So she's kind of like in this, not transient, what's the word? Anyway, she's in this state which is in flux, right? And so I think it makes it cool. And she just like lifts up a finger. Maybe she's hovering, right? And she points over to the two of them and she says, "Mythicals, move!" But it echoes weird, or it's got like some weird stress on it. By the way, we're gonna get into why they're called the Mythicals, why I called them the Mythicals, I think next time, because we're gonna try to use something to frame and structure our adventure a little bit more, but we'll get into that next time. So she's going to do it again, but it's like a weird voice. And so we're going to create that. And against 3d6 Doom Pool, that's not too bad. This could be a really cool asset. So let's see. So struggling identity, I mean, absolutely struggling identity. So we're going to get 1d10 for the team, and then struggling identity we'll use as a d4 and give her a plot point, because she's in this like new form. Or maybe it's more appropriate to say that her the energy is causing her biology to kind of like shift to be able to absorb it, right? Like it's not necessarily this is a permanent state, but she's kind of like absorbing and responding to this, because there's a lot of feedback when these things happen. And of course, Zizak's had his energy going around. So yeah, I like that. D4 struggling identity. Energy blast, superhuman flight, or rather subsonic flight. This feels, again, energy blast, only because I'm describing it. We have a lot of energy. We should do, next session should all be like sticks and stones and mortals. So I'm going to go D8 energy blast, not because she's shooting, but again, because I'm describing the energy there. We're going to kind of bend the rules a little bit. Multi-power, none of that matters. Shut down a creed, genetics power, and gain a plot point. That could be kind of cool. Maybe we'll do that if we make it to a second round. Maybe we'll do that just to represent, again, the sort of flux state that she's in. And then psych expert. And I think that's it. I think that's what I want to do. So let's see what that is. Okay. Not the worst. I think a 13 is okay. Yeah. So Carol's total is going to be a 13 with a D10 effect for Mythicals move asset. Because it's only 3d6. I like it. So now we have the Doom Pool, 3d6. Okay, so their total is a 10 with d4. I'm sorry, I type weird because I've got to reach across. I have my microphone set up between my keyboard and my face. So I've got to reach over with d4 effect. So Carol succeeds, and it's a 10, so it's not going to step it up, but it is going to be shared with everybody. So everybody gets a d10. Let's go with white text. Size 16 is probably too small. Mythicals move d10. Just copy that. Goes to everyone. Probably goes to her too, right? Come on, Ben. Scoot it over. There we go. It's Carol. Now, the Doompool did roll a hitch, but I don't think I want to buy the stunt die. So does anyone else want to buy a stunt die? Maybe now Scott does it. Yeah, let's do that. Scott will spend his singular plot point, and he'll get a stunt die. And we'll have him go next. So Carol kind of is sort of crackly. She does this sort of like weird voice of Mythicals move, and I think Scott, his visor maybe is sort of like or maybe he steps forward into his classic, hands on either side of his visor and goes to do his optic blast, but when it comes out, instead of just being that ruby red, maybe it's got streaks of energy that sort of match Carol's energy a little bit. And that way we're really leaning into the motif here. And that's going to be the stunt die. So he absolutely responds to the team orders, and he just opens right up. And what is he aiming for? Probably in his split-second decision, it would make more sense to go for Radioactive Man, since he seems to be doing something other than typing into a terminal. So that's what he's going to do. So it's a D10 for teamwork, and then a D10 for the asset, and then a D10 for the stunt die, which we will go ahead and move off. And then I don't have time for this. Tactical Genius and Uncompromising. Maybe we use the reactor, the derelict reactor question mark as a D4. No, I don't want Scott to have plot points. I'm not gonna game the system like that. This is a cool moment for Scott. He didn't have a cool moment last time, so let's give him his Tactical Genius. No, I don't have time for this. D8 and Force Blast D10, but he does have area attack. Maybe does he sweep across the whole thing? Yeah, let's do that. Let's sweep across the whole. No, that's just too. That slows things down. Energy absorption, ricochet, step up or double Force Blast against a single target, and then remove highest rolling die and add an additional die to your total. So I think it just says additional die. Usually that means an additional D6. I don't think they mean add in another D10. Remove the highest rolling die. Oh no, it's tally when you tally it up. Okay, so let's do that. Let's step up that dice to a 12, and then remove the highest rolling die. So when we roll, we need to remember that we do that. And then combat. We're on combat expert, right? Anything else? There's no stress at play. Nope, this is good. All right. Okay. He has no plot points. Oh, do we want Do we want to have it break his visor? Yeah, let's do that. Let's break his visor and earn a plot point. It's fine. So I am triggering here the Ruby Quartz visor. So he does this, and we don't even know if it's going to work yet because we haven't rolled the reaction roll, but he just opens up and it like, and like the different kinds of energy, and then just like crash, like just cracks and shatters right off his face as he does this. Yeah, that's a cool moment. And it's a stunt die, so that's cool. That gets him a plot point right away. So let's do this. Let's do Scott's total is, I really like the idea of having a D12 effect, but those are my high dies. So because of Ruby Quartz Visor, we have to, or excuse me, because of Ricochet, we have to remove the highest rolling die, but we're going to say that's the D10. So we can't use the D10, but we can add an additional die to total. And then I just spent a plot point to add another additional die. So it's going to be the 2. Let's say it's this 7 and the 6 normally, plus the SFX plus the plot point, and then the, oh, that's not a D12. All right, so we'll use that one, and then we'll let the D12 be our effect die. So 7 plus 6 is 13, plus 4 is 17, plus 2 is 19, using all of his dice with D12 effect to do physical stress on Radiation Man. All right, this could be a baller move. This could be a baller move. Let's see. Radioactive Man. They're not really working together, so solo. Does he have any? He does have energy absorption, so if it works, he can do something cool. If his reaction works. Hypnotic lights, and then radiation based on stressed out by energy draining or radiation inhibiting tech. Step up the lowest die in the Doom pool, or add a D6 Doom die and shut down radioactive body. How is that a limit? When stressed out by energy draining or radiation inhibiting tech. Oh, in other words, if that happens and you want to, you can trigger it by stepping up the lowest die in the Doom pool. Okay, got it. Well, we'll see. This is not really that, but it could be. So it's just solo, which for him is a 1d6. And smarter than he looks. Oh, the word stress is there so that I can plug it in when he doesn't have any stress right now. I don't think so, but I think the reactor, the derelict reactor, question mark, that's going to be a D4. And before we forget, we will go right ahead and step up one of these D6s to a D8 when we do that. Durability or radiation mastery. Let's go radiation mastery. We called it teaming with energy, not teaming with superhuman durability. And then inflicting, so we don't care about any of the SFX right now. And then science expert, psych expert, combat expert, maybe science expert. Maybe in his split second thinking, he is hoping that the energy attack won't bother him so much. But we'll see, because it's not Scott's normal optic beam. Almost certainly this is going to be bad times for Radiation Man. Oh, look at that. Bad times for Radiation Man. Okay, goodness. Well, we can do a 9. So even if we do a 9, I mean, even if I use all of those dice, 6 and a 3 and a 2 and a 2, still only 13, which still step. So I'm looking at Scott's total is 19, right? And that's going to be a heroic success at least once, if not twice. So let's just blow up Radioactive Man too. Love it. Love it. Radioactive Man's total is a measly 9 with a D. We'll give him the D6 effect. Come on. With D6 effect. Radioactive man is blowed up. So Scott's lost his visor, right? It shatters, but the energy just smacks into Chen Lu, and crawls across the surface of his skin and envelops him, and the sort of tech, the derelict reactor piece that he was kind of like interfaced with and like trying to work with, also absorbs this energy. And then there's just this, it's just like this little, there's a noise, and then he is just atomized, and that's it, and he is gonzo. Look at that. Wow, nice job, Scott. See, that's what happens. You skip him for one scene, and then he comes back and he's like, no, don't you understand? I lead the X-Men. You can't skip me. Okay, but now I think we need to have Carla get in here, because we got to have some action from the baddies. So she sees that. Does she have energy absorption too? That'd be cool if she like absorbed. No, she doesn't. Okay. So she sees that, and she takes to the air, and she, you know, does that like curses thing, right? Like she absolutely just rips into the team with some unprintable words and just kind of like profanities, and is not having any of this. But she is obviously outnumbered, and whatever it was she was just doing, you know, the keyboard just melted in her hands or at her hands, and she's like out of there, right? So she takes to the sky. But as she does that, she does have area attack, and I think we're going to go ahead and give her a nice energy blast, and we're just going to see what happens, because that's just kind of what we've been doing. Inflicting a blinded complication or mental stress on a target, add d6 and step up energy blast. Yeah, we're going to blind everyone, or we're going to try to blind everyone. Sort of like she flies up and just like pulses out just this flashing, dazzling, blinding brilliance, which may not affect Scott too much, whose hands are over his eyes currently because his visor has just shattered. But we'll see how it works for her. Let's pull my token over before I forget. So she's going to try to put a complication on everybody, and that complication is going to be blinded by the light. Yeah, that's what we're going to call it. So she's going to roll to do that, and she's obviously alone, but that's okay. It's a D8, and bound to power, cold-hearted schemer, and manipulative. Cold-hearted schemer, that tracks. This probably wasn't part of the plan, but now she's just being vindictive. Instead of flying away, she's trying to blind everybody as she goes. Energy blast is a D10, but what is that? When inflicting a blinded complication or mental stress, add a d6 and step up energy blast. So we're stepping energy blast up to d12 and adding in a d6 for it. And then area attack for each additional target. So we're going to add 4d6, right? Because there's one target, and then there's 4 additional targets. And then we did that, and puppets on a string. No, we're not doing that. Although that could be cool, but combat expert is D8. And I do have some doom dice that I could use to keep additional dice, but I'm not going to do that. Probably. Ooh. Okay. Well, this is against everybody, so she wants to make this work. She does have that D12. That's almost certainly going to be the effect die. So if she adds the 7 and the 6, that's 13. And I think spend a doom die to keep this 6. Actually, we can keep the 8. Keep the 8 up there. Spend this one. So we'll add the 7, this 6, and this 6. So that's 19. Total of 19. And then the effect dice are going to be, so we use the 7, the 6, and the 6. So the effect dice is going to be a D12, a D6, a D6, a D6, and then a D4 that we just get out of the ether. Or wait, did we use? No, yeah. So we added the 7, the 6, and the 6. Then we have D12 and 3 D6s, and then a D4. So who's the 12? Who's going to get hit most by this? Natasha doesn't have anything to do with energy. She would probably get hurt, although Scott was kind of stepped forward, but he's not really looking. could be Carol. Maybe Scott's. Maybe it's that Scott's. Maybe it's his thing shattered, right? But after the energy blast, it was like depleted. So his eyes are open and he's able to see for a second without beams constantly coming out. And so there's this brief moment where he can see things. So maybe he's most susceptible right now. Yeah. Okay. We're really picking on Scott this time, but that's okay. That's all right. So Scott is going to be the D12. And then it doesn't much matter who else these all are. I think probably Nat, Ben, Peter, and then D4 for Carol because she's like energy invincible right now. All right. Black Widow has to roll. She is, in theory, part of the Mythicals move moment going on. Oh, did I include the Mythicals move? I don't think I included the asset for Scott. Oh well, not a big deal. So she's team. And I again, to be clear, if you didn't catch it last time or if I wasn't clear, I'm using these affiliation things to sort of soft lock. Things change moment to moment, and that's okay. But Carol kind of gave an order to the team or like called them together and did her Mythicals move moment. And so everybody's trying to abide by that. So in a sense, Black Widow and Colossus and the thing, everybody's like trying to follow through on that. So if they want to benefit from this asset, which is like a team-based asset, they use the team-based affiliation, right? So 1d6, but then 1d10 for the asset. Natural Leader, Russian Super Spy, Dangerous Liaisons, Rainy Monday Afternoon. I don't know that any of these work, so we're going to go with Dangerous Liaisons as a D4 because it is a dangerous situation. We'll just give her another plot point. And durability, I think we said last time, or reflexes. Let's do reflexes. Maybe she like does an acrobatic backflip. Yeah. I was going to say somersault, but somersault is not what it's called. Don't think any of the SFXs matter. Swing line. I didn't describe that she was using her sting bracelets, but maybe there's like a... No, we're not even going to do that. Acrobats master, though. Acrobatics master. And then she used the asset, so that's good. So she's got to be a 19. Well, I think I know who's getting blinded. I should have gone in order from the effect dice. Well, whatever. So Widow is going to do... Oh, but she can do a 12. But even that means it's going to step up the effect die. Well, okay. That's total. That's total is 12. If I spend a plot point and I make it 15, it's not a heroic. No, that's not good enough for me. I'm gonna keep it like that, and then I'm gonna give her 2 plot points. No, just 1 plot point, because I'm going to add a d6 and then step it up. So it will be a d8. You only have to, or do I have to do 2? I think that way. I think I'm doing that right. Total of 12 with the d4 effect. So she's taking... She was going to take d6, but it's going to get stepped up. So d8 complication. All right, let's do it in orange. The bigger font. So d8, blinded by the moon. Love it. The moon. Oh, look at that. I put like 3. All right, that's perfect. All right. I guess we're going in order of data cards here, or data files. Colossus, team action, or team reaction, really. 1d10 for his team affiliation, 1d10 for the Mythicals move asset, godlike durability, d12. And he's just, I mean, this is just his natural form. He's not really, you know, maybe he's shielding his eyes a little bit, but like he's not really making any effort. Invulnerable. Take the hit. Oh, nothing there. Combat expert d8. Oh my goodness. We are learning a lot about organic steel. I guess if you have organic steel eyelids, that works, or organic steel eyeballs, maybe it's more difficult to blind them. I mean, yeah, we're gonna spend the plot point that we have, and we're gonna go with a total of 18 plus we don't have an extra plot point. That's too bad. No, I don't think there's a way that we can retcon an extra plot point out of this. Otherwise, I don't even know what he would do to be really shiny. Would that be his counterattack? We're going to add 3 dice anyway. The 9, the 9, and the 8 for a total of 26 with d8 effect. So Colossus is not blinded. But it definitely does gleam. Like, I think the light gleams off him and maybe refracts a little bit more into the chamber. Ben, crawling out of the cockpit of the crashed helicarrier, maybe still wearing the visor. Yes, 100% still wearing the green visor. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? These little transparent visors that people wear, like in the stereotype. Absolutely still wearing that. So 1d8 for team, and then d10 for the asset. What a revoltant development. I'm a monster. It's clobbering time. Reactor. What a revoltant development. We'll get him a plot point. And he has godlike durability as well. And combat expert as well. Again, similar to Peter, not really making a huge effort other than just like shielding his eyes a little bit. Yeah. Which also seems to be very effective. So he'll have to spend one of those plot points. But he can add a 10, a 7, and the other 7. He could attack her back, but there's really I just don't see a way of him doing that successfully, right? Being able to counterattack. Mechanically, I could do it, because I could spend his last plot point to inflict the D12. But I just don't see a way of him doing it, like, in the fiction. No, it's fine. Ben's total is the 10 plus the 7 is 17 plus another 7 gets us to 24 with a D12 effect. Ben is not blinded. Then we come down to our boy Cyclops. He already used his team thing, affiliation. I've been using the teams for everybody else, but I almost want to go to solo because he's probably not paying attention to anything other than the fact that he's able to see for a brief second. So I'm going to do that. I guess I really like to beat up on the ones that I love the most. And poor Scott. So he's going to get a D6. So he's not going to get the Mythicals move asset. And he is going to have... Let's go with tactical genius at D4. Scott, you're in the battle. Close your eyes. And nothing about his optic beams. If he has a successful reaction, we can cover that, but we know he's not. Combat expert, D8. he's gonna fail this roll. So literally from his standpoint, it's, I don't need my visor anymore. I can't see. Oh boy. He's gonna be taken out with a blinded complication. Poor Cyclops. It's okay. You should have stayed on your own team. So Scott's total is 10 with a D4 effect. Scott cannot see anything at all. And that is a very deep statement about Scott Summers, indeed. Because so basically what happens is, oh no, he's not getting a D12. Hang on, what was the effect die coming in? Scott was getting a the D12, yeah. So he got a D12 coming in, and so it was bumped up twice, so it would have been 2 steps above a D12 that came in and hit him. So he is, where's the blinded by the moon? No. Yeah, so we'll paste it, but he's taken out, so we're gonna say taken out by the moon. He is in some ways a man of great vision, and in others a man of no vision at all. And then finally, for Carol's reaction, she is, she kind of said the team thing, but she's almost solo as well. No, I think she stays. No, we'll go solo. So the reason I did it for Ben and the others was they were kind of responding, right, to her leadership. And now that moment has kind of passed, right? Scott was distracted with his stuff, but also her moment has passed as well. And she is responding as less of a leader and more of like the leader, less of a team member of the team and more of a leader of the team, which would be more solo, I think. So D8 for that. So she doesn't have the Mythicals move asset either. Struggling identity, but maybe it's a D8 here. Maybe it will help her new form. She's almost not going to react. She's in that sort of like fugue state, right? Where she's not necessarily responsive right away to everything. And so it may be that this new identity or this new power set changes her in ways that we can't think about right now. Energy Blast, does she have durability? She has durability, so 1d10 for that. Energy Absorption, she also has that. Don't care about any of that. And then so Combat Expert. Does she even get Combat Expert? Yeah, probably by default, these guys should get Combat Expert. Let's see how badly she fails. Well, she could stay in the fight, spend a plot point, and we'll keep the 7, 8, and 3. Yeah, so Carol's total is the 7 and the 8, which is 15 plus 6 is 21, with D8 effect. So she's not blinded. And let's read this. Energy Absorption. Zoom in so you guys can read too. Energy Absorption. On a successful reaction against an energy-based attack action. Oh, this wasn't an attack action. Well, I guess it kind of was. Convert your opponent's effect die, which was just a D4 for her, so it's going to end up being a D6, I think, by default. We got to step it up once. Convert your opponent's effect die into a Kree Genetics stunt, or step up a Kree Genetics power by +1 for your next action. Spend a plot point to use it even if the action succeeded. Oh, okay. I didn't read that last sentence on the other ones. The other people probably could have done stuff. Let's do a stunt, or not a stunt, but a step up Kree Genetics power. So let's step up. Let's step up Blast. I kind of want to make it supersonic flight. Go from subsonic to supersonic. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And she has supersonic flight. It's just for one turn, right? For your next action or next action. All right, zoom back out. Okay, that was in some ways very successful and in other ways not very successful. Natasha was just blinded. So I think she's kind of like probably not the next one to act. So it's going to be Colossus or Ben. And Ben only had to fly a plane. So let's put him next. But what is he going to do? Maybe he's so used to weird cosmic. Oh, okay. So let's narrate the moment, right? Like, what's her flight? Subsonic flight. So she's starting to fly up and away, right? As she does this blinding blast. And so I think Ben is just going to maybe just grab the flight console from the helicarrier and chuck it at her. Is that what we want to do? That feels like a fun thing to do. Yeah, and then he should say she's grounded. So he's going to be like, I don't think so, sweetie. You're grounded. And he just like hefts a piece of the helicarrier right at her. Yeah, totally. Do we want to make it a team thing? It's more of a solo thing. The teamwork is kind of fallen apart, so he's not going to have access to that asset. So it may or may not work. We'll see. But I like the idea of it. So I wanted to use Cosmic Expert, but maybe I'll use Vehicle Master. Yes, absolutely we will. So D6 solo, Revolt and Development D8. I'm not gonna think too hard about that. Godlike Strength is D12. Instead of spending a plot point, add a D6 to the Doom pool to create a rocky orange hide stunt. No. Double Godlike Strength for an action, and then add second highest rolling die from that action to the Doom pool. Wow. I don't know if I get to use it then. But it makes sense. Maybe the debris lands somewhere else. Let's do it. Plus 2d12, yep. And then Vehicles Master. So he's essentially hefting up a chunk of the helicarrier behind him. I was describing it as the console because that's kind of where he climbed out of, but maybe it's like one of the engines. And he just like flings it right at her to do like physical stress. Yeah, that's fun. Okay. Well, his D12s were the biggest. So that's a total of 18. And then add second highest rolling die from that action to the Doom pool. So theoretically, we don't have access to the 8. But now the Doom pool has a D12. Which means he will add the 10 and the 5. And let's throw a plot point out there to add in the 4 as well. So Ben's total is 19. So if we add the 10 and the 5 and the 4 with a D10 effect for stress on Moon. And then for her reaction, solo. Cold-hearted schemer again. And maybe as a D4. And we'll step up one of these 8s to a 10. Because maybe her scheme is not working so well. Durability, what's she got? Durability, D10. I don't think none of those match, but then Combat Expert, D8. She is able to do 7 and a 4 is 11, plus a 3 is 14. So if I use a lot of Doom dice, I could empty this pool. Or I could have her be saved. But I don't think I'm going to. I like having a nice chunky Doom pool that I can use to crash helicarriers. So I'm going to actually just take the 7 and a 4, which is 11. With a D8 effect. So she's going to take... Ben was a D10, so it's going to get stepped up once to a D12. Physical stress. So she immediately just whomp, right? Like the jet engine just smacks into her. And I think because I did the Doom Pool thing with the SFX, I think it's that the engine like dings her, but then goes flying through the roof to land somewhere else, and maybe that's some collateral damage that we'll address at a later date. But for her reaction, like her being hit by it, she just falls right to the ground and maybe like lands on her back on top of the little reactor thing and then falls to the concrete floor. So it's like a Titanic move with the propeller, right? Like boom, boom. And she is like really badly hurt. Like that. Yeah, that's a good turn. I like that. So that leaves these two. And yeah, I was partial to having Widow, but I wanted to do something cool with Widow. So she gets knocked down. What does she say? Or do we want it to be Peter? I don't think so. I think Black Widow is going to... You know what? I have an idea. And this kind of leads into something... An idea that I kind of had in mind for later anyway. I'm going to have her... As she's falling, like when she... Before she hits the reactor, I'm going to have Black Widow... So she's already been hit with stress, okay? But like as she's falling and just before she hits the reactor, Black Widow's going to throw a... We're going to go buddy for her because she's working off of what Ben did. And she's going to launch her swing line as like a grapple and try to just like tangle up Moonstone as she's falling so that by the time she hits the ground, she's just like bound in all of this cable from the Widow's bracelets. Yeah, that's what I think I want to do. So we're going to go buddy because we're going to work off the fact that she's picking up with what Ben did. And then I think Russian Super Spy, D8. And Mythicals move, D10. She is working with a teammate who did a thing. So we'll include the asset, but it is a buddy move. Reflex is D8. And I don't know if I want to use focus yet. Swing line is D8. So let's use focus and make the two D8s into another D10. And then acrobatics master. Yeah, I like that. She does like a flippy move and just kind of like and just like empties the grappling hook, the swing line part, as it just like tangles around her. Although I guess to get it to tangle around, maybe she's yeah, I like that. I like that pool. And this is, I mean, ultimately it's going to be to cause more physical stress, right? I'm not trying to put a complication on her per se, but I like the idea that it's basically going to add to that stress. So that means Nat's total is 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 3. Let's spend 2 plot points here to add all of those dice. Because any effect die will tip up the D12. Oh, and you know what I didn't do? I didn't add in the D12. Oh, okay, that was not super helpful. But she did roll a hitch, so I will give her back a plot point. Step up this 6 to an 8. I didn't add Moonstone stress, right? Okay, so Nat's total... She's going to add the 5 and the 5 and the 3 and the 5. So she spent 2 plot points, and that's 18 with, well, now it's going to be with a D12 effect. And that's going to be for physical stress to finish off Moonstone, who is going to roll solo. She gets the D8, that Nat has blinded by the moon, the complication that's on Nat. So maybe this doesn't work, but probably it's going to work. Cold-hearted schemer again. This didn't exactly work out the way she had planned. Let's bump up a D10 to a D12. Dum dum dum. 2 D12s in the Doom pool again. And oh, she can turn intangible. Let's do that. Maybe she can, with the last thought of consciousness as she's falling, maybe she can turn intangible, and maybe that will help her in some way. And yeah, combat expert. So she needs to be a total of 18, which we have 2 7s. That's 14. 1 Doom die gets me to 17. But I want to beat it, and I don't want to spend all of my Doom dice to keep her alive. So I think that's it. So we'll have her total be 14 with a D10 effect. Moon is grappled and KO'd. So the only person that didn't go was Peter, but he feels like he's the one who would just let people do what they're doing. Yeah. So basically what happens is Moonstone, as she's falling, gets grappled and tangled up, and she tries to turn intangible, and maybe she smashes into the reactor as well, and maybe she gets deatomized, or I guess you just say atomized. Maybe she gets like evaporates as well. That would definitely represent physical stress. I like that. It leaves, and of course it's Marvel, right? So they're not dead. They're gonna like reform or something like that, and that really does fit our theme of being like energy and teaming with energy and overloading with energy. Yeah, I like that a lot, actually. So that kind of brings the scene, or the action scene anyway, to a close with the team, with our team, with the Mythicals. Scott is obviously the big problem here, and I think he's probably not cowering, but like on his knees with his hands over his eyes, just muttering like, not again, not again. And Natasha is like fiddling with her electric bracelet, and there's just kind of this decompressive moment. But really the highlight, even more so than Cyclops, is Carol's form starts to flicker and slowly morph and shapeshift and start to return back to her normal form. She's not glowing and looks like her normal self, but obviously we are going to visit that some other time. Oh, and she had that stunt that she never got. I was going to have her use her flight to like instantly cut off Moonstone, but didn't even come to that. And so there's this moment of, we've accomplished some things here in terms of defeating several pretty, I guess they're D-list villains in some ways, but heavy hitters. Zizzax, these guys, Griffin maybe less so, but and then of course Carnage, right? So in a short amount of time, this team has already kind of had a lot of trial by fire, so to speak. And I think our closing scene would probably reflect that. They got their game interrupted. So maybe Ben, makes a comment to that effect and pulls out a second deck. Pulls out a second deck of cards and makes a comment about starting the game again. And maybe who's going to attend to Scott? Maybe he just has like, maybe they tie. Somebody's got to. Maybe Carol. Carol takes her. You know how she has the like belt, but it's got like a big long knot that trails. Maybe she rips off some of that and wraps it around Scott's eyes until I don't know. Do you have to do that if someone's blind? Not really. But while his sight is all messed up. Yeah, I like that. And then Widow's voice. Yeah, this is cool. So there's kind of like that denouement scene. So in terms of moving forward, let's go back to our title page here. So that brings this session to a close. In terms of where we go from here, so I'm going to take some time. I'm going to make some changes. There's no XP to be spent because we're not tracking that, but there is sort of an XP change that I want to do. And so I'll make those data files or make those changes. And if you have any ideas about things that you would like to see or villains you'd like to see them face or cameo appearances by others, please let me know in the comments. But I'm going to work on setting up the what I want to use next time is the Mythical, what's it called, Mythical Game Master emulator, which and this would be the older version. I think there's a second edition out now, but I acquired it over the summer and it's cool. I like it. I like to do solo gaming, and I think we're going to start using that to structure. So far, it's just been things I wanted to do, things that I thought were cool. Like, you know, I get an idea, literally Teaming with Energy. I mean, that's a great title. And I structure everything around that cool idea, or that scene, or that beat, or, you know, like I said, using characters that I don't see as often, or that I've always wanted to play, but I've never had a chance to play. So these 3 videos, these 3 action scenes, and the transition scenes in between them sort of comprise, in my mind, a true session. This would be like one issue. This would be like the pilot issue of the new series, the Mythicals, right? And so from moving forward, we'll have some changes and things will look a little bit different, but we'll still keep going in the same vein of hopefully of having really cool things happen. And like I said, I don't think too far ahead. The Mythical framework, the Mythical GME framework is nice because it's like prompts, but it's not so constraining as to make me feel like, oh, I've got to do this and I can't do whatever comes to mind in the moment. There's still a lot of freedom with it. And so I'll show that off a little bit next in the next video. So I think that's all we have for today. Epic moment. Thank you so much all for joining me. We've got a lot of drama going on, and I hope you join me next time. If you have any questions, comments, observations about the rules, if I missed something, let me know. I'll put it in the comment section below. Other than that, I think we're good. And yeah, Excelsior.